Process is the gold mine that delivers excellent products or services. All work is a process is the great statement by several quality gurus, which has inspired me to take up this session to deliver a very important message of what is process approach, why process approach is the best way to improve the processes, and why if you improve the process there is a permanent gain. I also plan to cover those questions which are generally asked in the global exams, interviews, or those portion of knowledge which are essential for you to be an effective processor, person, process owner, and so on. Hi, this is Jagdish Kumar doing this presentation for you. Now, what is process? Process is where we have a sequence of steps to do, activities to do, to convert input into required output. Also, please remember, process is the reason for a good output or a bad output. There are two approaches possible. One is the process-based approach, the other one is the product-based approach. By product-based approach, what I mean to say is if the product is defective, repair, see that good product only goes to the customer. But is it a corrective action or a correction? It is only a correction and temporary, because the same process which is manufacturing the particular product would deliver the same defects in the next lot. As we visualize, process is the reason for a good product or a bad product. Improving the process only can give the permanent benefit. Unless this cause or reason is improved, result cannot be good always, like the output product or output service. Hence, process approach only can deliver permanent improvement in a performance. Now we'll try to understand what is a process. As we discussed, process is a set of activities we do to convert inputs into required output. Now, if the output is defective, then we need to do the process analysis to see why that defect is delivered. This only can create a permanent improvement. Process output can be a product or it can be a service, as we discussed already. Along with the output, process also can deliver some outcomes. For example, I have done an excellent business. I have shown 10% increase or 20% increase in my turnover. Also, I generated some outcomes like customer loyalty towards my product, or new customer gained, brand image that I created in the market, and so on. So a process can have output as well as outcomes. Now, the processes can be for production, it can be for executing a work, or it can be for executing a service like a hotel service, hospital service, school service, or a software service, and so on. Process also can be for the business. How I gather customers' requirement, how I ensure that I take possession of customers' required products or services, how I deliver to them, how I provide after-sales service, how I see that the customer is delighted and he is coming back to me only. This also is a process because it has several inputs and then an output. This is called as a business process. So improvement can be on the business process also, which can turn around the company into a very high level of profitability. Flowcharting technique is used to represent the process steps. As we mentioned about process, we also discussed that it is a sequence of steps we do, and these steps are represented in a flowchart. And as we use the flowchart, we use some of the standard symbols, like as you can see in the picture below. Rectangle represents the process steps. If there are arrows, these arrows indicate the direction in which the product flows from, say, operation number 1 to operation number 2 and so on. Diamond symbol or a rhombus if it is seen. That means that is the stage where the inspection will happen, or we need to take a decision whether the output of the process so far is acceptable or not. Also, as we understood that the permanent improvement in any performance can be by improving the process, we need to know a few of the process performance measures, which if you focus, you can improve the processes tremendously. The first start with productivity. Productivity means the output should be useful with the minimum input being consumed. Then there is high productivity. FTP, first time pass. If I make 100 numbers out of a particular process, 100 numbers should roll out and 100 numbers should be acceptable. Then my first time pass is 100%. Also, overall equipment efficiency. This is also very important. If I overplan my equipment to do higher number of pieces and I'm making lower number of pieces using that process now, because current demand is not much, my overall equipment efficiency will be low and so on. In that case, I have options either to increase my production or use the facility for some other product or take some other jobs from other companies and do it on service basis so that I maximize my equipment efficiency as far as usage is concerned in the process. Tuck time is the time taken for unit system or single piece. If this time is faster, I can make more number of pieces, commit more number of items to the customer and make more business. This is the significance of this particular measure. Process efficiency, like actual process output, what I am doing now, and standard output, what is expected. For example, if I am rolling out only 30 pieces now, whereas the equipment is delivered to make 60 pieces, it has the capability, then my process efficiency is only 50%. Cycle time is the time taken in the process to convert the product to what the customer wants. Lead time is the total of cycle time and the waiting time that happens in between. So lead time includes value added time, that is cycle time, where the time is spent on making the item, and also the non-value added content, that is the waiting time put together. Lead time should be as short as possible if you want to be more productive. Also, there is one more measure called the throughput. Means average time for one number to move through the complete process. One number right from the beginning, process number, step number 1 to the end. How long it takes. This is actually the one that decides my number of items I can deliver over a period of time and called as a throughput. Productivity is output by input, which we discussed already. Efficiency is actual output by standard output, also we discussed. Run time is a time required to produce a batch of parts, which includes the setup time, means the time I spend to put job on the, say, machine platform, start the job. This is setup time. Then operation time, the real time of my working on the item put together is called as a run time. Also, please remember, when I have a process flow chart with the time taken for each operation written, if I want to improve the throughput, if I want to improve the process efficiency, I should start looking at those high cost processes where I can bring down the cost. I have to look at those high cost or long duration process steps which I can reduce. This is called as debottlenecking. This is very, very important to improve the process, which will give a permanent benefit. Also, when you do the process analysis, which is a very important skill nowadays, required both in manufacturing as well as a service sector. You can study and improve the business processes as we discussed. You can also study and improve your products or services. Here also for process improvement, we need to use PDCA approach. Plan what are all the inputs for the process, plan what is expected out of this process, then do the real process steps, then check whether the output is acceptable or not. If the process output is not acceptable, come out with corrective actions. Again, plan to implement the corrective action. Implement the corrective action, check the output, again if it is acceptable, you are done. This PDCA approach is common even for a process analysis. Now, whenever you do the process analysis, this is the standard practice which is not known to many to be followed. Process input analysis, very important. If the output of the process is not satisfactory, first you study the inputs for the processes, whether they are as per requirement, as per specification, and so on. Now, if the inputs are okay, then you need to look at whether there is a scope for improving the process steps. If process steps are also okay, then what is missing is very, very important to know, the process control. For example, if a catalog says that I should bake a particular varnish at 120 degrees for 4 hours, I should do that. Just to accelerate production, suppose I increase the temperature to 140 degrees, bake for 1.5 hours. Again, the varnish may get dried up, but its ability to withstand high voltage comes down. So process control is also equally important in process analysis to see that you get the best out from the process. What are the benefits of process approach? Process improvement actually improves causes. If the causes are good, results are also going to be good, and these results are going to be permanent because the improved process will deliver improved products or services again and again. Process benchmarking is one more best practice. Maybe if two companies are making auto rickshaws, the tri-wheelers, how the painting is done in one company can be modeled, referred by another company, competitor company, to see why the company A is able to do the painting of the auto rickshaw at a much cheaper rate than my company. This is called as process benchmarking in terms of cost, in terms of best practices, in terms of quick delivery, and so on. Whatever the parameter, we can compare with the better performing group and then emulate those learnings in our processes. This is called as process benchmarking, which is the latest concept. Some of the examples of process approaches, what we do: implementation of ISO standards, implementation of Six Sigma concept and principles in the company, implementation of quality control circles, QCC. All these are examples of process approaches where you have inputs. For example, ISO standard implementation, you need resources to implement, that is the input. You need the standard copy with all the requirements, that is the input. You do a sequence of activities to convert the contents of the standards into your own work instructions. Then you operate as per the work instructions, and now there is an output, maybe ISO certification or an improved quality management system, and so on. Please remember, these are small steps but very, very useful. Merely minimizing waiting time in a process can dramatically enhance the process performance. Please remember this. One of the most non-value added content in the process would be the waiting time. If there is an urgency, reduce, cut down waiting time. You will have enormous jump in your process performance, delivery, cost, and so on. Also, please remember, follow the process standard, follow the work instruction. Do not go for shortcuts in the process. Shortcut is dangerous for processes, is the keyword I request you to remember. Never go for shortcuts. As I mentioned earlier, 120 degrees, 4 hours baking required, 140 degrees, 1.5 hours baking done. Now, production has happened at a faster pace, but the coil will not withstand the high voltage and create its own danger. So this implication is not known. So never do the shortcut. I once again take this opportunity to request each one of you to subscribe to my channel, and also remember that the process improvement opportunities are always your gold mine, because that is where with small investment, small effort, you can get a huge permanent benefit for your organization, for your output or your business. Thank you so much for watching and supporting me.